So you are thinking, I've done my best. And you're sitting like this. You're sitting like this. I was comfortably enjoying my time, and I thought, but I got a call one day and said, we desperately need your help, Robert. I thought, about what? You see, in our Calcutta, we have a hospital of 176 beds. 40% of the hospital, the treatment for the year, we treat 40,000 people free in a year. That's a good chunk that we're reaching for Jesus. We have a nursing school. When I saw the dorms that the girls were living in, Pastor, the nursing school, and I thought to myself, this can't be right. How can these girls live in a place like this? There was 8 to a room and 1 bathroom. There was a building that came open, and we managed to raise the money and we bought the building for our nursing school. That can house many more girls. There's going to be 4 girls to a room, and they'll have their own bathroom. Now, to you, that may not be a big deal, but to them, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. These are kids that you saw that, on the video. These are some of our kids that have graduated from our high schools and today are in our nursing schools. And they can't afford it. The parents are saying, we can. I said, don't worry about it. Put them in there. We'll take care of it. And how is that done? It's because of wonderful people like you. We have a hospital, we have a nursing school, we have a feeding program that we feed 25,000 children. You saw the people over there serving the food. We serve 25,000 children a day. Think about it. We have a Bible school. We have schools, the school that I graduated out of. It's really funny, Pastor, when I go to our village schools and things like that, and they introduce me, and they think I'm some hotshot from the United States who's come. And I begin to tell them my story, and they look at me and they go, you are one of us? It's amazing of God's grace, isn't it? I was asking Pastor if you, I desperately need a little help. Is we're trying to renovate our nursing school. And it's going to cost me about $100,000. Now, I'm not, if somebody has an extra $100,000 sitting around, But I told Pastor, I said, I'm not going to give you a number. Whatever you want to give me, Pastor, I will be ever so grateful. Because they've asked me, they said, Robert, would you help us? Our girls need to be in a better facility. If we're going to teach them hygiene, we're going to put them up in a nicer place so that they can learn for their library, the books, the lab, and everything. And so I said, I will take the project. So they've asked me, and I said, hey, don't worry about it. I'm gonna ask in America and see if they will help us with this nursing school. Each girl is sponsored. It takes us $100 a month to sponsor a girl in our nursing school. These are graduates out of our high schools who are sponsored kids. There are doctors in our hospital. It's really funny because I'm not that old. I didn't hear an amen at all. That's terrible. And when I walk into the hospital, I'm walking around, I'm looking around, and I'll see somebody call me Uncle Robert. I'm like, I'm not your uncle. What's this Uncle Robert? And I see there's some kid with a stethoscope hanging around his neck, and he's a doctor. And I said, hey, what's your name? And he begins to tell me his name. And I look at him going, isn't your dad so-and-so? Yes, sir. What do you got that thing wrapped around your neck for? What do you think, it's a joke? No, sir, I'm a doctor. I said, you're a what? He said, yeah, I'm a doctor, and this is my wife and kids. I'm thinking, you never asked for my permission, man, to get married, and you call me uncle? It is such a joy because our giving outlives our living. You see what pastor's doing, what your church is doing. Oh, there's going to be out of this whole missions convention. A few years later, you will hear about, Pastor, you do not know me, but because you had this missions convention and these missionaries came to your church and you supported them and they told me about your church, Pastor, and out of your church, because you gave, they could come and bring the message to us. Here I am. Can you imagine what heaven's going to look like? When God unveils that big screen and they show Calvary Assemblies of God on February 24th, 2008, and the big pictures over there, and people are writing checks and all this stuff, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere in the corner of heaven, there's a whole bunch of noise, and you're going like, shh, we're watching a movie. They're showing about Calvary Assemblies of God. Shh. We're very important over here. But they can't stop, man. They're just screaming at the top of their voices. And you're going like, what's wrong with those people, God? And he goes, listen to him. And they begin to run up and they say, because of you, Calvary Assemblies of God, because you gave, guess what? Missionaries came to my side of the world and they would tell us about Jesus. That's why I am here in heaven to celebrate with you. Hey, because your giving has outlived your living. So think about it. That little boy's lunch. You know what it told me about that little boy's lunch? After it was all distributed. Can you just picture this with me in your mind? The disciples are looking at each other going like, there's something wrong with this guy Jesus. 5 loaves, 2 fish, and he wants us to give it out. He's not well. This man has been out in the sun too long. That 40 days he was out in the wilderness, that must have affected him.